Hey, boys and girls. Today we are covering the day 5 in our ELA and math booklets that you received in your packets that you received on last week. But before we get started with that, I want us to go ahead and do our problem of the day. Let's go ahead and take a look. So our problem of the day is showing what multiplication and division problem can be solved using this array. So I want you to look at it very carefully. What multiplication problem can I use with this array? So if we take a close look, I see how many rows? How many rows? And I believe those are meatballs or chicken nuggets. Either way, I know I'm hungry. But we'll take a look. I see how many rows? If you're looking very carefully, you will see 5 rows. Okay, 5 rows. And how many are in each row? So we'll take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So a multiplication problem I can come up with is 5 times 8. What does 5 times 8 equal? Well, I know if it's 5s, I can always count by 5s. So I can do each column and count by 5s because I can look in this column and see that there's 5 in this column. So if I count by 5s, go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So 5 times 8 equals 40. So that is what my multiplication problem can look like. But what about division? How would I rewrite this multiplication problem to become a division problem? Well, I'm glad that you asked. So I know that the total amount is 40. And when I do a division problem, 40 represents my dividend in a division problem because that is the total. And then, of course, I do my division symbol. So my divisor, what do you believe my divisor should be? My divisor is going to be the amount of rows. So 40 divided by 5. And then my quotient, what should my quotient be? Well, I've already used the 40. I've already used the 5. So all that's left is this factor up here, which is 8. And 8 is my quotient or my answer for my division problem. So these are the multiplication and division problems that we can come up with just by looking at this array. So today we're going to be reviewing 3 standards. There's 5 standards on this review, and there's 1 question for each one, but we literally just reviewed the multiplication division standard, which is your first question. And we're also going to look at these questions right here. Rounding to the nearest 100, that's question number 2. Angles, which is question number 3. And then measuring to the nearest half inch. That is question number 4. So I want us to go ahead and get started. So this is literally the page that you have in your booklet that we're covering. So as you can see, it shows us question 1, and we just did an array with question 1, so that should be nothing for you. We're going to be taking a look at the number sense in base 10, question number 2, like I said. Question number 3 is a geometry question, talking about angles. I already mentioned that. And question number 4 is a measurement and data analysis. And we're going to be measuring, like I said, to the nearest half inch. So if we go ahead, we'll get right into it. Number sense in base 10, question number 2. Justin's math workbook is 287 pages long. When rounded to the nearest 100, about how many pages is Justin's math workbook? So, what have we learned when it comes to rounding? I know that if I want to round to the nearest 100, I should make sure I understand what number is in the hundreds place. So I literally just wrote 287. So if I'm rounding to the nearest 100 and I look at this number, The number 2 is in the hundreds place. And what I do is I underlined that number. Now, I also want to make sure that I'm using the number behind the number that is being rounded to help me determine if I'm going to go up or if I'm going to go down. So we're going to circle the 8. So we have the 2, which is in the hundreds place, and that number that's in the tens place is going to help me determine if I'm going to go up or if I'm going to stay the same. So we learned 4 or less means same, okay? Just stays. And I'm writing with my fingers, friends. Okay, and then we learned 5 or more add 1. So what is this 8 going to do to this 2? Is this 8 going to be bossy and say, hey, I don't like the way that you look. I think you need to go up 1. Or is it going to tell this 2, you know what? I think you look good. You just need to stay the way that you are, stay the same. So my friends are paying close attention. They know that 8 is 5 or more. So we're going to have to add 1 more. So what we do is we add that 1 right above the number that's in the hundreds place, which is the 2. So 1 plus 2 will equal 3. Now, what do I do with this 8? That is correct. Since I have circled my 8, it's automatically going to turn into a 0. Any number that's behind the number that's been rounded has to turn into a 0 automatically. So that also means that this 7 is also going to turn into a 0. So we've just determined that 287, when rounded to the nearest 100, is 300. Now, some of my friends don't like that strategy. They like using the number line strategy. So I am going to create a number line for you. And I know when I look at the number 287, it's between 2 different hundreds. The first 100 is in between is 200. The second 100 it's in between is 300. So these are the 200s that you would find 287. Now you're probably wondering, well, Miss Green, why did you mark the middle of this number line? But my friends know that we always mark the middle to represent the midway point between each 100. And our midway point on this number line is 250. So with that being said, where do I locate 287 on this number line? Well, I know the 8 is bigger than the 5 in the tens place for 250. So it's going to have to be after the 250, closer to 300. So I'm just going to guesstimate that that's going to be 287 right there. So with that being said, what number or which 100 is 287 going to be closer to? Is it going to be closer to the 200, which is over here? Or is it going to be closer to the 300, which is over here? Now, if you said 300, that means you are correct. Very good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and move into our next question. Geometry, draw a right angle. Now, as you see, your page does not have this. What I have done is I have gone ahead and taken the liberty of drawing the different angles that we've learned about. We've learned about 3 different angles, 4 if you think about a straight line, okay? But we're not going to be talking about a line today. We're going to be talking about the 3 different angles that we mainly need to know. So we've learned about an acute angle, we've learned about a right angle, and we've learned about an obtuse angle. Now, I normally like to do my hand movements to help us figure that out, but seeing as my screen isn't big enough and I'm not sure if I'd be able to pull it off, I'm just going to use my fingers. Okay, so pretty much I know an acute angle is cute, and we always say cute because it's so cute. And we know that an acute angle, and my finger has not gone into any other angle, I'm still in acute. It doesn't matter. I could be like this, that's still an acute angle. I can do this, still an acute angle. Now, if I do this, it's no longer an acute angle. okay? So if I'm gonna come back down right here, I know an acute angle is less than 90 degrees, all right? Now, this right here, if you're looking at my finger, I want you to still look at my finger, is a right angle, okay? And we know it's a right angle because it has that corner right there that is equal to 90 degrees. And now if I go past that, which is kind of difficult with your hand, okay, some of you might be able to go a little further than that, but I know that this is greater than 90 degrees. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a look at what I have put right here. I have pretty much drawn 3 different angles that we've learned, and we need to draw a line to the angle that makes the most sense with the choices down at the bottom. So for instance, I'm looking at this first angle right here, and if you remember my hand signs, then you should be able to remember which angle this is. That's right, this is an acute angle. And you know what, to make it look pretty, I'm just gonna type it, acute. Okay, so where am I gonna draw my line for an acute angle? If I look closely, I have to read each one of these down at the bottom. Equal to 90 degrees, no, that's not acute angle. Greater than 90 degrees and less than 180 degrees, no, that doesn't sound right. Or less than 90 degrees. It looks like we found our answer, guys. So I'm going to take a line all the way to right here, to the acute angle. All right. Now, this second one, that is correct. Second one is a right angle. So I've already drawn my line from the acute angle to its description. So now I need to figure out which is the description for a right angle. So I only have 2 choices left: equal to 90 degrees or greater than 90 degrees and less than 180 degrees. So, you're right, it can't be greater than 90 degrees. We know that a right angle is literally equal to 90 degrees. So we're gonna draw our line right over there. And so our last option that we have is an obtuse angle, obtuse angle. So our obtuse angle, what we are going to do is we are going to draw our line to the last description because it makes the most sense. Greater than 90 degrees and less than 180 degrees. So at this time, I will be right back with you. I apologize about that, boys and girls. I appreciate your patience. I had to pause the video because I had a little, issue, a little situation with my daughter, but I'm back now, and hopefully we can finish up with our last problem. So far we have covered multiplication and division. We have covered rounding to the nearest 100, and now we're going to cover measuring to the nearest ½ inch. Now, I love that we learned about fractions first and how to read a fraction on a number line before we even try to look at reading a ruler of all things. So I know with my friends, I showed you how to do this. I know that we learned that there are 3 important lines that we look for when we are reading reading a ruler. So I remember telling you, you always look to the longer lines. So there's 1 long line, 2 long lines, 3 long lines. Those are the long lines that we look for. Now, with that being said, what would that first line look like? Well, if I look in between 0 and 1, this reminds me of reading a fraction on a number line. So I automatically know I'm going to look at the different parts that are right here. There are 4 parts: 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if there are 4 parts, that means my denominator is going to be 4. So my first line, if I look at it closely, would be 1/4. My second line we learned is 2/4, but we also know for equivalent fractions that 2/4 is equal to 1/2. Okay, and then our last line that we're looking at will be 3/4. So I always tell you 1, 2 tree, 1, 2 tree, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 1/4, 1/2, 3/4. So if I'm looking at this bold blue line that is right here, I need to measure to the nearest 1/2 inch. And I know just from what we just reviewed, our 1/2 inch line is going to be midway each time. So I'm just looking at that middle line right here. And then here's the last 1/2 inch line right there. Now, with that being said, I know that if I'm looking at this very carefully, I know that the whole number is going to be 4 because the line goes past the 4 and it doesn't go past the 5. So I'm going to go ahead and write 4 right there. Now, to the nearest 1/2 inch, what should be my answer? What should be my fraction that goes behind this whole number of 4? Yes, 1/2. So we've just answered number 4, 4 and 1/2, because we're measuring to the nearest 1/2 inch. Boys and girls, I hope I was very helpful with you today. I know you can answer question number 5 because you're comparing the fractions, and we compared fractions on last week. So if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to call your teacher, or if your teacher can't assist you, I'm always here to help you as well. I hope you have a great day. Bye.